생겼어 나 내가 됐었어 You make me begin.
Okay, well, once again, what I have to say is far more important than who I am. And everything I say is not going to be perfectly formulated yet. But as each video comes along, I will continue to get better. And, you know, as I hear from people and as I learn new things along the way, my ideas, my opinions, my views very well may change. I ask that you grant me that, as we should be granting that to each other, always. To be really heavy-handed with somebody when we disagree with them, even though it's our right to speak our mind, how's that working for us? I don't think it is. And it's not because they don't understand or whatever. I think that it's just quite important that we take a look at history, and we take a look at the way we know human nature is, and that nobody changes by being humiliated. Nobody wants to be perceived as dumb. We have cognitive dissonance because we all do things that we know go against good judgment, or, you know, all kinds of things, and yet we still do them. So let's just start accepting what we are, right? Now, to accept what we are is not to say that we can't change, that none of us can change, or that, because ultimately man constantly looks for a reason, right? It's the eternal search for the meaning of life, the purpose of life, and I get that, and I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. It's essential, I think, to the brain and to the spirit. And when I say spirit, you know, I don't mean anything paranormal. So we have to use our words properly. We have to use the definitions that are agreed upon properly. If we find that we are defining words other than what common dictionaries have, then maybe we need to come up with a different word. Or we need to get together and figure out a way to change that meaning if we feel the need to. Ridiculous? Sounds like it, huh? I think we've already agreed to certain word meanings, and to use terms the way we want just 'cause, come on people, it's chaos. That's just not the way life goes, right? Your dysfunction with the world, or with who you are right now, or with anybody else, is not a reason to become an anarchist. I mean, this is not, you know, your personal struggle is not a country's revolution. It's just not. But that doesn't mean that your concerns are not valid. When I discuss these types of things with people, I share these certain beliefs that humanity is humanity's role model, and that it is our responsibility to care for each other. That triggers a lot of people because having a very individualistic society in America, we don't think about the other person. Well, individualists doesn't mean you only think of you. It's just that you put yourself first, right? Now, this again is all how you look at it. Because when you're on an airplane and the mask drops down, should there be a sudden depressurization in the cabin, our first gut, if we're with a child, is to put it on the child, right? Well, if you know how it works with depressurization, the higher you are and the more pressure that leaks, the faster you'll pass out, right? It's not that you're going to sit there and be awake and go, ugh. You'll pass out. I mean, like within seconds, if the situation is right. So you may not have time to put that mask on the child. But if you put yours on first, then you have time to put your child's on. The child can pass out for a second, it won't kill them. So with that paradigm in mind, that is, in my opinion, I think a better way to look at individualism, right? You're going to take care of you because you know that a healthier you is a happier you, that a healthier you is less of a burden on your own wallet and pocketbook. A healthier you is nicer to be around and probably will retain more friends and lovers and, you know, relationships with family. So these things are all, you know, pretty logical, I would think. I can't imagine that people would have a problem with that, but again, you know, you're allowed. And anything I say is not meant to change your mind. You are in control of your mind, and you can think what you want. I think that we're going about persuading each other or informing each other or whatever it is that you want to do. I think we're going about it in a way that is preventing more change. So it is my goal to help be part of the solution, and this is mine. So you can, I just think we need to hear more balanced information, and we need to think about it more. Take a second before we make a comment. We've got YouTube. You got all the time in the world to make a big ass video explaining exactly why you disagree and what the alternative is. So give yourself some time. They teach in anger management classes and in grief counseling classes, you know, to not react. Like, don't make decisions right away after, if you're in grief, if somebody's died, or you had a traumatic event. Now is not the time to be making big decisions, right? So when you're triggered, when you're upset, that would not be the time to make a video, unless, of course, you are only interested in cringeworthy or lulz cow. Then I guess in that respect, then that's when you would want to do it. But that in and of itself carries its own responsibility, because if humanity is humanity's role model, and we are responsible for each other, and that doesn't mean that, you know, it's your taxes or you have to directly take care of it. Take care of everybody. It just means that what we do and say educates the younger, less experienced people. And we ought to be concerned with that, right? And not because we want to dominate. There will always be chaos. There will always be suffering. It is the unnecessary suffering and pain and anger that I am interested in getting rid of. Because people are becoming increasingly violent, upset, and yeah, maybe it's a better world to live in than in the Middle Ages, but we've just got first world modern problems, right? I mean, if we continue to raise children that are this out of sorts, one of them is going to grow up to be president. And what would happen if we had a crazy man in the presidency? I mean, can you imagine that? What could happen? So I think that the picture's real big, right? And we need to be responsible for the things that we say, and not that we shouldn't give our opinion, but we ought to think about it, give it some thought, really kind of map it out, right? And if truth be the prize, if truth be the big prize of the world, well, then each and every one of us has to start with ourselves, right? And this is what I was getting to. If we are responsible for ourselves and making ourselves the best that we can be is beneficial for the whole. It's a win-win, right? It's individualism with the secondary of collectivism. And I'm not talking about collectivism in any other form other than the way we think of others and the way we treat each other in public, at work, things like that. I'm not talking about any kind of communism, Marxism, whatever. I'm not talking about any of that stuff, because ultimately we need to rebuild our foundation. Now, there are people out there, scholars, that are talking about, you know, some real big warning signs. When societies fall, Babylon, Egypt, you know, things like that, Roman era, the Roman civilization, when these civilizations fell, certain things were common throughout all of them. And they're starting to see some of those things again today. Now, I need to do my homework, right? I gotta look into some of these things before I start spouting them off, but I want to give you the idea of, and I'm not claiming end times, right? Like that, I don't have that kind of mentality. I don't come from a theology background, nor have I adopted one, and I am not claiming end times. It could certainly just be that people stop having babies because nobody knows what gender they are, and everybody's upset, and nobody knows what their sexuality is, you know, and things are getting quite confused. And know that I am in complete support of anybody loving who they want, as long as they're consensual and of age. And I'm not saying legal age, because frankly that changes all over the world, and you know, I don't have control over that. So of age to know, of discernment, you know, to know what they're getting into. Again, if you hold on to that, you're missing the point. So ultimately what people do with consensual people, as far as the love arena goes, is not our concern, right? If homosexuality, transgenderism has been around since for as long as, I guess, recorded history, then really what is it that we're trying to say, right? That is this a control issue? Because right now we have certain communities that are going through a really hard time, and if anybody tries to say, hey, I think this is a reaction, you know, there are certain people that are making decisions about their life and then are changing their minds, which is fine, right? It's absolutely fine. But if you've made surgical or career, or I mean, this goes for everybody, and this doesn't even, it's not just exclusive to transgender or LGBTQI. I think, I don't even know what the new letters are. This is just humanity, right? Anytime you're going to make a commitment of any type, whether it be love, a job, a move, a marriage, whatever, one needs to weigh out all the facts and make sure that their facts are correct, right? That their perceptions are correct. I mean, that's another way that we count on each other. We ought to get to a point where we can trust another person who's on the outside looking in to say, I think you might have that off a bit. Let's discuss it. Without them being viewed as the enemy, because the world is not our enemy. We are each other's enemy, but only our insecure side, only our ego side, only our side that is trying to grasp for some sense of the world, which may or may never be revealed to any of us. And as I heard someone say, what have you got to lose, right? Go for it. Put yourself out there, take care of yourself, help take care of others. What do you got to lose, right? Not a whole lot. Nobody gets out alive. You ain't taking it with you. It's some of these age-old, you know, lessons. Two wrongs don't make a right. So if you're going to fight fire with fire, which I think is misinterpreted, if somebody comes at you with hate at level 10 or a bad argument at level 10, you come at them with whatever your truth is and whatever your appropriateness is at level 10, right? So if you come at me with a bad argument and you're coming at me level 10, then I need to come at you with a good argument at level 10, right? That doesn't mean that I have to necessarily give you a taste of your own medicine, right? Which I think is a big mistake, because it seems like the world has a way of doing that. You know, my dad used to say, what goes around comes around. And I believe that to be true. And I have lived by the rule that what does go around comes around, and I don't have to be there to see it, to know that it's happened. I've seen those kind of things. I've seen bad things happen to bad people and bad things happen to good people. So we know these things happen. Just trust in your senses, right? Trust that what you see, not what you've been interpreted, and not what you've been told, what you experience, believe it, right? To the best of your ability. Of course, there are going to be exceptions to that. So in the coming videos, as I learn more, as I feel more, as I discover more, I want to discuss them. If you really would like to be part of changing this world, if you really want to be part of the solution in a way that nobody else has ever been able to, because now we're global, right? Make no mistake about that. We may have borders and we may have different rulers, but we are global and we are together and we can be together. And watching out for those who want to dominate, whose focus is greed-based, who are not interested in live and let live, who are not so judgmental to make the other person feel small in a situation that doesn't require it, right? And let me explain that real quick. Certain people will never come forward or will never tell the truth if all around them are people that, if they know that even speaking the truth, even doing the right thing, is going to get them a shitstorm. And if you have a desire to be that kind of person where you just want to dominate and you need to scare people because you've been scared, this is your issue, right? Don't put that shit on people. You didn't like being scared or traumatized, and that's what made you this way. Don't give it back. That's just wrong. The whole safe space thing comes out of that fear, right? As ridiculous as it is to ask for safe spaces in a college, and I don't agree with any of what's going on, issues, right? Speaking your mind and talking about your truths should never be threatening, right? I mean, we know that, speakers have been banned from universities and all kinds of places just because of the subject matter. How do you have freedom of speech, right? How do you claim that this is triggering you? This is it is a huge problem, and this control, having to control other people. I mean, it's really very simple. If you need to control people to that extent, your boundaries are way off, right? Because anybody can say anything at any time. And being strong and being mentally healthy, physically healthy, being able to adapt and change, being able to say, ooh, I was wrong. There are societies that are more forgiving like that. I mean, let's save our complete crazy anger for people who deserve it, right? And people who deserve it the people who deserve all of our anger are those who physically assault us, right? Who verbally assault us. And trying to redefine everything so it works in your favor. I mean, let's think about this. We live in a democracy, right? So we have the ability to cast our vote, to give our opinion and our say. Yet, our voter turnout, historically, has really sucked, right? So then when your side doesn't win, you go apeshit. And I guarantee you, those people that are the anarchists are not the people that were out there voting. At least not all of them. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. We know this kind of thing to be true, right? If you have a system that allows you to be heard and you choose not to step up to the plate, that is not the rest of the world's fault. So it's important that we get some things straight there, right? We let this happen. We let the bullies bully. We let these things happen. This is what happens when you give participation awards and you don't teach children how to win gracefully and to lose gracefully, right? But not to be so arrogant that you make winning look ugly, or that it triggers an unhealthy competition, because competition is good. I mean, competition between people, that's good, but not unhealthy, not to the point where it's just about showing somebody up. It's about the thrill of the competition and our strives to get better and better, to do better, to be better. Hurt people, try and hurt people. Gotta keep going back to it. So, in rebuilding a society, you have to take a look at the foundation, just like if you were building a house. If your foundation is bad, you ain't gonna pass inspection. That's the least of your problems. If for some reason you get past inspection, you have all kinds of problems with your house, right? These are sensible, logical ideas, or metaphors, or thoughts. So, getting our foundation secure is really, really important. I would consider and ask that you look at humanity as our foundation, because otherwise, why the hell else are we here, right? This is about us. This is about humans and the way we live in the world. And we already live in a world we already pay to live on a planet that nobody owns. So right there, off the bat, we're going to be a little upset, right? And I believe, regardless of whether you believe or not, that we are affected by those who suffer. Even those that are calloused and seem quite cold or indifferent. Other than those with real diagnosable personality disorders who lack empathy and compassion, and those people exist. Make no mistake about that. There's badness around some corners. Now, that's not to give people, it's not to try and frighten anybody, right? It is to remind people to educate themselves and to be prepared, right? Don't go to places where you ought not. Don't put yourself at risk, right? These things are important, because what happens is then you become a victim. Victims can often have long-lasting effects on that. And that will indeed shape the way, that will shape your trajectory in life. And it's not always a good place. So, so much of our literature and, good versus evil, Star Wars, may the force be with you, all these things, it's a recurring theme, right? We're always going to have chaos. We have life, we have death. We have good, we have bad. We've got the sunlight, we've got the darkness. But polarization is a bad idea. In between all of those are degrees of virtually everything. And meeting in the middle somewhere seems like a good goal to have. We will not solve these problems overnight. And we will not be around to see them come to fruition. But a wise man plants trees where he knows he'll never meet the people that will sit in its shade. Paraphrasing. I would rather go down in history as one of the unknowns that helped get our world back on track than anything else. So, who I am is not as important right now as what I have to say. I'll deal with me. I got me covered. So, you take care of you. We are all we have. I know we can do better. We just have to learn to love again. And we need to figure out a way to heal that which hurt us. And to be smart about it so it doesn't happen again. And find a way to give each other this information without pissing each other off. Be good to each other.